It all started on a bright afternoon in Ridgefield, a peaceful town where the lawns were neat, the smiles polite, and the prejudice quiet, until it wasn't. Marcus Johnson, a retired Marine and proud black veteran, walked out of a corner store carrying a simple bag of groceries, milk, bread, and oranges. But to two young officers sitting in a cruiser nearby, that bag wasn't just groceries, it was suspicion wrapped in brown paper. They didn't see the medals Marcus once earned, or the sacrifices buried in his eyes. They only saw color. "Hey, you," one of them called, stepping out of the car. "What's in the bag?" Marcus stopped, calm, disciplined, the kind of calm that comes from years of combat. "Groceries," he said evenly, "just groceries." But his respect only fed their arrogance. One officer sneered, "Don't get smart with me," and before Marcus could blink, his bag hit the pavement, bread crushed, oranges rolling into the street. The world slowed. Eyes turned. Whispers rose. But no one stepped forward. They shoved him against the hood, slapped cold steel on his wrists, and said the words that had become too familiar, "You fit the description." Inside the station, the humiliation didn't stop, it evolved. The officers laughed, tossed comments like knives. "Bet he's never even worked a real job," one said. Marcus sat silent, staring at the wall, memories of combat flickering behind his eyes. He'd faced enemies with guns and grenades, but somehow this felt worse, because this enemy wore badges. When they asked for his fingerprints, Marcus finally spoke, steady and sharp, "I served this country for 20 years. I bled so you could wear that uniform." The room froze, just long enough for mockery to take over again. "Yeah right, old man," one officer scoffed. "Prove it." And that's when fate intervened. The door to the station swung open, and in walked Captain Richard Hayes, a man whose voice carried weight, whose presence silenced chaos. But when his eyes landed on Marcus, his stern face cracked in disbelief. "Johnson," he said softly. "Marcus Johnson." The room fell silent. "Sir, you know him," one officer stammered. The captain's tone cut like a blade. "Know him? This man saved my life in Iraq." The color drained from their faces. "You handcuffed a decorated Marine?" "My brother in arms." He ordered the cuffs off immediately. The officers fumbled, stammering apologies, but Marcus didn't gloat. He simply stood tall, dignity restored. Hayes turned to his men, fury simmering behind control. "You owe this man your respect, and your jobs." Word spread fast, through the department, through the town. The story of how a black veteran was arrested, only to be recognized as a war hero by the very captain they served under. Marcus became a symbol of quiet power, of truth cutting through arrogance. The captain suspended the officers and promised reform. Justice, for once, seemed real. But Marcus didn't celebrate. He'd seen too much to believe in easy victories. That night, he returned home to find an envelope taped to his door. No sender. No stamp. Just a single message in thick black ink, "Heroes fall too. Watch your back." Marcus stared at the words, his heartbeat heavy and slow. The camera closes in on his face, calm but burning with resolve. The narrator's voice deepens, slow and tense. They thought this battle was over. They thought silencing Marcus would be easy. But what they didn't know, was that the war had only just begun. The note on Marcus Johnson's door wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration of war. The words, "Heroes fall too," echoed in his mind like a drumbeat of danger. He'd faced enemies across oceans, but this one hid behind uniforms and whispers. He didn't call the police. He didn't need to. He knew exactly who was behind it, and he knew the fight had to be on his terms. Inside the dim glow of his kitchen, Marcus sat at his table, the letter in one hand, a photo of his daughter Jasmine in the other. "They want to scare me," he muttered, voice low but steady, "but they don't know who they're dealing with." The next morning, Captain Hayes called. His tone was grave. "Marcus, there's been talk, dangerous talk. Someone's planning something. I need you to stay alert." Marcus sighed, "I've been alert my whole life." Hayes hesitated, then added, "We're digging into those 2 officers. What we're finding, it's worse than we thought." Marcus frowned, "How bad?" Hayes paused. "Bad enough that the corruption might reach higher than me." That night, Marcus drove to the community center for a meeting. But as he stepped out of his truck, headlights flashed across the lot. A black SUV, just like before, idled near the corner. The window rolled down halfway. Marcus froze. A voice hissed from inside, "Should have kept your mouth shut, soldier." Then the SUV sped off, tires screeching into the night. Marcus's instincts roared to life. He ran to the rear license plate, but it was gone. Whoever they weren't amateurs. The next day, the unthinkable happened. Captain Hayes was found unconscious in his office, his car ransacked, his files missing. The department called it a break-in, but Marcus knew better. He visited Hayes at the hospital. The captain's face was bruised, his eyes heavy with guilt. "Marcus," he whispered, "they're inside the department. Not just 2 officers, a whole network. Cover-ups, evidence tampering, false arrests. I tried to stop it, but his voice cracked. They threatened my family. So I stayed quiet." Marcus's jaw tightened. "You're saying this isn't just about me? It's a system?" Hayes nodded weakly. "They want you gone because you exposed the first crack in their wall." The camera cuts to Marcus standing in the hospital hallway, the light flickering above him. His reflection in the glass shows not just a man, but a soldier reborn. The narrator's voice rises, "When injustice hides behind power, truth becomes a weapon." That night, Marcus returned home to find his door unlocked. He entered quietly, every step measured. His living room was dark, but a faint sound came from the kitchen. He flicked the light on. Sitting at his table was a man he didn't recognize, dressed in plain clothes, a badge barely visible beneath his jacket. "Mr. Johnson," the man said, "I'm Internal Affairs. We've been watching what's happening in Ridgefield. You were right to stay silent." He slid a folder across the table, photos, bank records, messages, proof of corruption inside the department. "Captain Hayes was helping us," he continued, "but someone found out. We need your testimony to finish what he started." Marcus opened the folder. His hands trembled, not from fear, but purpose. "If this brings justice," he said quietly, "then I'll do it." The man nodded. "Good. But understand this, you're in danger now. They know you have the truth." Moments later, headlights appeared outside. Marcus looked through the blinds, another black SUV. The Internal Affairs agent drew his weapon. "They're here," he whispered. Marcus stepped forward, calm but fierce, the soldier in him rising again. "Let them come," he said. "I'm done being hunted." The sound of tires crunching gravel. Shadows moving. Then, glass shatters. Gunfire erupts. The agent dives for cover. Marcus flips the table, shielding himself as bullets slice through the walls. He reaches for his phone, dialing Hayes, but the call doesn't go through. Smoke fills the air. One shot hits the folder, papers scattering across the floor. In the chaos, Marcus crawls toward the file, grabbing the torn photo of Jasmine that falls beside it. His heart pounds. The shooting stops. Silence. Footsteps outside. A deep voice calls out, "You should have stayed quiet, hero." Marcus grips the folder tight, eyes blazing. "I didn't fight for this country to kneel to cowards," he growls. He rises slowly, back straight, the Marine in him alive again. The camera zooms in on his face, bruised but unbroken. The narrator's voice fades in, low and steady. He fought for freedom on foreign soil, but now, the war was at his doorstep. They came to silence him, but what they awakened was far greater than fear. Marcus Johnson wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for every voice that had ever been silenced. A final shot of the folder, spattered with blood, lying on the floor. Inside, a document half-burned, but one line still visible: Captain Richard Hayes, Confidential Operation, Project Ridgefield. They thought the story ended here, but the truth is just beginning.